Hello. How is everybody today? Not sure if it's actually live yet because there's always a bit of a delay, not just between like what I do and YouTube, but like a delay between when I hit start streaming and it actually starts streaming. So it's always why there's a little bit of a pause at the beginning. All right, it seems to be working now. Okay. Okay. So I'm going with some Donkey Kong Vaporwave. We'll see how that goes. I'm not sure. I think I am a Donkey Kong fan, which is kind of a weird thing because I never thought of myself as that growing up. But I guess I am. Anyway, last time we did the river. I'm actually leaning kind of towards being inclined to just. What is the water height anyway? Okay, that's fine. I'm just going with 200, making it really smooth and. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and set this to minus 200. And that's just so that I can see this better. I'm not sure if this actually like makes it look better or worse, so I'm kind of inclined to just get rid of it. Make it seem like it comes out of the water itself, maybe. Yeah. So I am probably going to do a bit of a shorter stream today because I have something at 6, and I usually go from 3 to 6, so I'm probably going to want at least a half hour to get ready. But, you know, it do be like that. Alright, so smooth this down, because this is something I was kind of bothered by last time, but didn't want to, like, bother with at the time. Alright. There we go. Ah! I messed that up, okay. Minus 184. See, I don't love... let's try. See, I kind of like that, but then it just covers the entire jungle, so that's no good. I guess that's fine. Yeah. Oh well. I'm trying to think of how I feel about the water right now. I think it's alright. Do I want this to be solid? Or have the river through it, run through it? I think I want this to be solid. So I'll leave it like I'll leave it like this. Yeah. Let's go back to negative 184. Yeah, that's probably fine. Alright. So I think the next thing to do is to fill this in with vine props or what have you. Actually, this one might be a little tricky, so I guess I'll do it right now. Alright. Rotate. You guys fans of Donkey Kong? Or is that just me? I mean, I'm sure people like Donkey Kong, but I don't know. There. That's a nice start. I think I'll do something similar with a smaller size. I love the music, but I've never played any of the games. I I honestly don't know which one's best. The 2D and 3D are pretty different. But they're all pretty good from what I remember. People complain about Donkey Kong 64 because it can be pretty grindy. But I think it's still fun in the moment for the most part. It is pretty hard at times though. You might want to save state it for some parts, I think. Platformers aren't my favorite video game genre. No. That's too bad. Oh, speaking of, Star Fox Adventures is apparently on the Switch, so I might get that. I don't know if that's something people would want to watch me play, but I was always a huge Rare fan, so I know I'd enjoy it. Plus, I've been actually working... I guess it's weird to say this because I haven't shown any of them, basically, but I've actually been working on quite a few... oh no, I did the key on stream. I've been working on a lot of Ceruvi planets lately. And filling out their history, too. I'd probably watch at least some of it. Dinosaurs do be cool. I mean, I think I'd enjoy it. And it's probably one of the very few classic Rareware games that I haven't actually played. No, I never played Conquer either. The Conquer games either. Huh. Nice Sea Ripper, great. Yeah. I've been reserving stream for Gobindi instead of just jumping around. I'm trying to be a little more solidified. Especially after Zeltros kind of didn't go anywhere because I ran into problems like immediately with aesthetics and whatnot. But I have been working on Shri a lot. I thought they were trying... First time I heard about Gobindi, I thought they were trying to Ligma me. No, it's real! It's real! Gobindi's real! It's really real! Marmar, are you a Donkey Kong fan? I am a Donkey Kong fan, yes. I played the original Donkey Kong Country and Diddy's Kong Quest. Is that Donkey Kong Country 2? The Diddy Kong one? I've only played the first Country. I haven't played 2 or 3. Probably am missing out. Yeah, that's DKC. Okay. Oh, come on, autosave. Ugh. Did you guys hear that Dark Forces is getting a remaster? I'm kind of excited for it. I technically grew up with the game. I got it when I was 8. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever, but I don't think I ever got past the second level. It was very hard to get through that game. Especially for an 8-year-old. But my parents took it away because it was too violent. Despite the fact that we had played Duke Nukem before that. But they told me I could have it when I was 10. That's probably why they took down Dark Forces Unreal Remake. Aw, that's sad. I mean, it makes sense, but it's also kind of sad. Especially if this doesn't go through. Which, after the KOTOR thing. Ugh. So when they told me I could have it play the game again when I was 10, and so I waited, and then when I was 10, I was like, hey, I'm 10. One day I was like, it wasn't even on my birthday, it was just like a month or so after my birthday, I was like, oh yeah, hey, I'm 10. Where's the Star Wars game? They're like, oh, we got rid of it. And that began a long, long, vicious cycle of mistrust for my life. And I never loved again after that. That was my villain story. Maybe a little too clean, but that's probably fine, especially if I put like foliage over this. My one fear, let me go ahead and save here myself. My one fear for the game is that, okay, maybe this is a bit irrational because it's not something I have any reason to think they will do, but like it's something that a couple mods have done for remakes of games, like the X-Wing games or whatever, where they get someone, they're like, I decided to fix the game by making sure to replace all the EU units with canon units. And it's like, now it's fixed, guys. It's like, oh, fuck off. There's that one pixel artist or whatever. Like, I try not to be dramatic on Twitter, but even there I was just like, I think you missed the point. I'm sorry. My one fear is that they'll do that. People are kind of knee-jerking to it because apparently like the Stormtrooper design is less like Episode 6 and more like Episode 7, or no, not 7, more like Rogue One. But at the same time, it's like, whatever. I mean, it's the same Stormtrooper basic design. It's just the aesthetic slightly different. I feel like that's not the same thing, but I mean, it's a lot different from being like, let's remove Carracks and replace them with Arquitins to fix it. It's like, oh, fuck you. I feel like, if anything, I feel like they might go with the Diablo remake and Halo Anniversary Edition where you can toggle between graphics with a button. That'd be kind of neat. But yeah, that's probably my one fear is I don't actually know if Dark Forces has anything from the EU in it because it was so rudimentary at the time. It does have the Moldy Crow, and the Moldy Crow is in it, so there's that. My one fear would be like if there was like a scene with a Dreadnought Heavy Cruiser and like, let's replace this with the MC-75. And it's like, oh, why? That's like my pet peeve with those X-Wing people. Okay, so there's canon through tabletop games, and then there's like canon in film and stuff, and I feel like being canon through that thing doesn't count to an extent because I don't think anyone who matters there cares about that. If that makes sense? Anyone who'd be in charge of a decision. It's just more of like fans being like, oh, look, it's canon, but it's like, if it never comes up and it never matters, is it canon? And that's a whole lore question. That's a whole can of worms of lore on its own, so maybe don't answer that. Because there's no right answer there, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I don't know. I guess releasing a DHA appearing Rebels in that one. Okay, yeah, that's true. But I meant like, that's a bad example. But like, I'm just kind of irked because those people remaking the X-Wing stuff, there's like a scene with like a Carrack class in the background, and they replaced it with like, I think an Arquitins, and then there's a similar one with oh yeah, the Imperial Palace. They replaced it with the Jedi Temple. They're like, don't worry guys, we fixed it. And it's like, oh, you missed the point. I don't know, that's my pet peeve. It's just, I don't like the implication, oh, it needed to be fixed. It's like, oh, it didn't? It was fine? Let it be. How much is Bell for its own days and how much is from Disney's Manny's? You know what? Well, the two things I'm complaining about are neither because they're just modders. Or actually, one of them is just an artist decision. arguably more than the modders themselves. So, I don't know. There was the one instance that like really annoyed me was a pixel artist who was celebrated and got like brought on to do like the X-Wing, the really old X-Wing games. Like he got brought on to do like their cutscenes. And he's like, I've updated the cutscenes and fixed, and like he all but said I fixed them by like changing stuff to like the canon version. And it's like, you completely missed the point, dude. Though apparently they got so much negative feedback there that like they decided to do like a version of both. So, I mean, at least, I don't know. It did bother me a lot because like his tone was very much, I fixed it. And it's like, you didn't fix anything. It wasn't broken. It was fine. I don't know, that I'm getting more annoyed about. This is like me getting petty annoyed. Like, I know it's petty, but I'm being petty annoyed by it. I'm aware that it's a very petty thing to be upset about. I think that's just one of my pet peeves, is like when people imply something is broken that isn't, and that it needs to be fixed. Or that they made it better. I don't know. I actually got the same way with someone said they were using Bob's free release maps, and they kind of phrased it in such a way that sounded like we're fixing his maps, and it's like, what the fuck? That's not okay. But anyway. It put me off of free releasing my own maps for a while, I'll say that. I don't know. I think that's just a pet peeve for me. Not even Star Wars related, just art related. So this is me ranting about art, I guess. This is actually turning out really well. Yeah, I can see that being annoying, but I also think in cases where it's like a developer present, it should just be a toggle. You know, that's fine. Like, that's totally fine. I think it was just completely the implication that I fixed it because someone else screwed up before. It's like, no, this was a perfectly good interpretation. You didn't fix anything. And I think maybe it wasn't even meant to sound haughty, but it came across as haughty to me, and it really bothered me because of that. Autosave, my nemesis. Alright, well, that sucks, because I was just about to think about, I was thinking about just saving right now, too. You know, I'll put one across here. I think that'd be cute. Crossing the river. Oh, Marmar, maybe you could probably comment on this. So there is a Rareware game that I've never played that I wasn't actually aware was a Rareware game for a long time, that I was thinking of playing on stream, which was Star Fox Adventures. And the reason being because I've been doing a lot of Ceruvi stuff. I was thinking it might be fun to play like the most aesthetically similar to that game. Plus, I heard it plays like Zelda, and I've always enjoyed Zelda games too. And I've enjoyed basically every Rareware game I've played, so. I even played Banjo or Ukulele. How's this? I like that. Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know about the small one now. It is kind of Zelda-like, but in my opinion, despite how good it is, it's not a good Star Fox game. So you feel sorry. You know, that's fair. I've heard that it wasn't even meant to be one, so I'm not going in with any Star Fox expectations. I've heard that it was Rareware designing their own game with dinosaurs and stuff, and then they got told from Nintendo, make it a Star Fox game to sell better or something. Like Doki Doki Panic or something like that. So I have no expectations of getting a Star Fox game. I am going to treat it more like as a Rareware and dinosaur game first, more than Star Fox. Which I think is realistic expectations. Yeah, it's similar character design, but it wasn't intended as Star Fox. Yeah, that's basically it. But if you're going in to it for inspiration, I'd say go ahead. Planet there is literally just called Dinosaur Planet. Okay. Because, like, I've been reading this True Spikura source book. And I've been working on, quite a few Saruk planets at this point now. In the background, mostly. And while doing so, I just found myself really wanting to, like, play a dinosaur-themed game. The mammoths count as dinosaurs. Actually, I probably posted it in the Discord, but let me save. But I actually made meaningful progress to the point where I can kind of show off Shri now. One second. Honestly, I admire the consistency, not applying that inaccuracy to Pterosaurus and Dimetrodon. I'm actually not sure what you're talking about, Blasto. I feel like I missed something there. Shri. Oil Ocean, because, like, I couldn't think of anything else to call it. Actually, this was called Evil Skies at first because I just wanted to have Evil Skies, but I ended up going somewhere else with it. Alright, let me go read the planet description for this because I actually wrote up a pretty cool history. So, none of the Saruvi planets have any history at all except Loek. Our naming convention for them is Loek is the name of their home planet and the name of a big starship they have, the Loek class, but they have a bunch of other class names as well, like the Shri, the Taki, etc. And so we named all their other planets that we know exist but don't have names after those starships and figured, well, they probably also named their starships after planets, so all their starship names are their names of their planets. So that was the idea. I started writing, let's see, history for them. Where did I put it? Oh, where is it? Oh, here you go. Okay, so I ended up having to, like, make up history for them, and it's been really fun for me. Let's see. Deep within Saruvi space, the Shri system was hosted by a single inhabitable planet, an oceanic world of the same name. One of the Saruvi's oldest colonies, it was originally established for its aquaculture exports to offset food shortages on Loek. The Saruvi did actually have, like, well, the planet was already set as oceanic before I got to it, so, and named Shri, so I kind of rolled with that. And Loek, oh, I forgot to change this 1 second. There we go. And, the Saruvi did have, like, resource shortages, so I rolled with that. Oh, I mentioned it's called Manus Dinosaurs. I said they're consistent with naming source. Well, most okay, that's fair. Alright. Food shortages on Loek. When it was discovered that the local undersea snails produced liquid canvasite, a critical component in the production of Magsol, necessary for the attachment process, Shri rapidly transformed into a bustling world of mass energy production. As of the Battle of Endor, Shri was the largest producer of Magsol, and the Imperium would name one of its proudest vessels after the planet. But with the shift in industry came ecological negligence and disaster. Beautiful blue ocean vistas had become rust-colored hellscapes. Alarmed, the Imperium attempted to reverse the damage, but when it was discovered that the undersea snails had adapted, and were producing just as much canvasite as before, concerns were soon dropped, though fishing is no longer permitted. Okay, that probably reads better than it sounds spoken out loud. But I was rather proud of what I've managed to fit in like 1,000 characters for the description. Shri lore, yeah. So Magsil is actually a thing that they have. It's basically this blue liquid that they pump into people's veins, called magnetic solution or whatever, and that's how they infect people. So I got these giant versions of the Bacta tanks all over. I also really love this water. It's so ugly and evil looking. Did it earlier have Ceruvies? I think it should be Cerux or just Ceruvi. Did I say Ceruvies? I might have said it. I don't think I wrote it. You know, I probably did. Yeah, I did put apostrophe. You know, I'll look it up later. I'll look it up. I'll look it up and figure it out later. One of these days, I'll like go through every instance of the word and make sure I've written it correctly. All at once. Yeah, there's the whole texture for this part still, but it's been taken care of over here. And I got like this whole area below the playing field. Yeah, that rust water looks great. I love it. I've seen it written as Ceruvis, Cerux, and Ceruvis by anyone. It's the same people using Vong. A lot of people don't. And a lot of people don't get it. There is a note in the source book that tells you exactly how to use it, when and where. I'll just have to like look at that, keep that open, and then go over every instance and make sure I've done it correctly. But I can't be asked right now. I will get it right eventually, just not yet. I think some official writing later also ignores it. That wouldn't surprise me. It's confusing. Oh, I can, well, I haven't finished the passability with how sloppy it is, you can see. But I'm pretty happy with this so far. Have you seen the description for Fusen in game yet? Wikipedia often definitely does that often. I mean, if we can't remember offhand, who else is going to? You know? Okay. I'm just waiting for... Oh! Autosave did finish. Okay, never mind. Let's see. I can. Oh, Fusen. Yeah. Where the hell did it go? I was actually really proud of what I wrote for, Fusen's description. Let's see. Give me a sec to find it. Where are you? Walker Festival? What's that? Don't get me excited because I've wanted to do like a planet on the back of a walker for a long time. This is that floating in space planet. It's used for Korbu and Fusen. Basically Boon to Eve, but for walkers instead of pod racers. Oh, that's funny. That would be hard to do in a map outside of just making a generic racetrack, though. Although Rogue did make a Boon to Eve map. I was thinking of making, or I've been planning to make a Ando Prime map Um, so that covers desert and snow racetracks. Okay, I'm really proud of Fusen here. Though the lingo would be lost on most, for those living in the remote southwestern reaches of the galaxy, the term Fusen was synonymous with the stubborn promise of life. The oviparous Fusen was known to mate only once before reaching sexual maturity, and then carried those fertilized eggs within its body until it finally gave birth in early adulthood. So it was that with the Fusen system, a long time ago, the system featured a gas giant and a flourishing terrestrial planet. But at some point, the gas giant absorbed and fractured its sibling planet, leaving its scattered pieces swirling around within the gaseous mass. But life finds a way, and wildlife has flourished in the jungles of these floating fragments, including the eponymous Fusen itself. Poetic as Fusen's history was, to the Ceruvi Imperium, it was merely another world to add to their expansion. Thus, the double planet has the dubious honor of being the namesake of the Imperium's disposably slave-run Fusen picket ships. The Walker Festival was a biannual celebration of the planet Emmer. It is a month-long festival filled with parades, feasts, and walker races. Alright, this thing, you posted in swords. I did! Actually, I forgot I did that, yeah. I was pretty happy with it. I don't know if you've seen the keys, but it's kind of terrible. 1 second. Okay. Daki's history is much shorter. It's a cold, barren world in the Ceruvi Imperium. Daki was covered in shimmering green... let me open it quick. A cold, barren world in the Ceruvi Imperium. Daki was covered in shimmering green, ice-capped mountains. The namesake for one of the Imperium's better-known landing craft, the Saruk utilized Daki's natural lime-colored runoff to synthesize liquid stimulants. It's Planet Mountain Dew. That's it. It was a little bit more explicit at first, but then, I called it cool, refreshing liquid stimulants, or the cool, refreshing lime-colored runoff. But NMS messaged me, was like, can I please beg you to be less on the nose about it? I was like, okay, fine. I really like how this planet looks. Wait, was that Fusen or Planet Mountain Dew? Marmar, I missed it. I looked too close, too late. It is a soda planet. I think it's also used for Munis Mandal or whatever. At least for now. The last one, yeah. I love it. It's very WoW inspired. One of these days, I need to play WoW on stream and kind of show off the places that inspired me the most. Because they use basically the same editor this game does. So, I feel like to some extent a lot of my creativity is, well, aside from me being creative, is just from me having exposure to radical ideas that you wouldn't see in a normal RTS game. Because they were made for single player games using this, or, well, single controlled character in a RTS map editor. Alright. Let me go ahead and... Actually, wait 1 second. Let me close that. And go back to Gobindi. I'm actually working on a map for a tutorial. Actually, one last thing. I love how much attention you're giving to Ceruvi stuff. I hope some kind of model and texture people will too, to make the planets more fun to conquer. I feel like if I ever got to mapping, a lot of my maps would look like something out of a mascot platformer. I mean, I think it's good to let stuff inspire you, but also temper expectations for what you can make, because your maps will never look how you want them to. Never wholly. You have to kind of accept certain limitations, and once you get used to those limitations, you can do more with them. So this is a map I was making just for a tutorial, and I was struggling to just make a forest because my brain is like, no, it can't be a normal forest. It has to be special or magical or weird or something. And so I was really struggling to make this. And so I made it a desert forest. But as it turns out, that planet Deb Sivwara, the captured human that the Saruvi were imprisoning, or whatever. He was from this. Well, he was captured on this planet. He was from Chandrilla. It's a colony world, and it's kind of barren and like sounds desert-like, but it also has forests. So, I made this for a tutorial, but it's probably going to be another Saruvi planet now. So that'll be fun. This is obviously very early on. Alright. But back to Gobindi. Nice. So, it's just kind of funny that even when I'm not doing Saruvi planets, I'm doing Saruvi planets. I'm actually doing a lot of the Western Reaches planets. Like, I'm planning to do Bormter, the home of the lizard people that one weird dragon warlord has. And Exocron, which is that one sort of independent planet in the far, far, far south. So, I am kind of doing a lot with the southwestern part of the galaxy at the moment. Although I am rather partial to the north planets, like just south of the CSA as well. Delurin, the true heir to the Galactic Empire. Again, with the dinosaurs! I was actually going to put out a tutorial earlier today, but I'll probably do it afterward. I can definitely see why Saruvi plants are something you go for. They seem like some of the ones that would allow for a lot of bizarre concepts. It's that, which is definitely a big part of it, but also I am a bit inspired by the fact of what the Saruvi are, which is like, you think dinosaurs, and so you think animals, a human, or like animal aliens, so you assume they're going to be kind of nature-loving or whatever, or revere nature, because like that's how a lot of like animal-like aliens are, right? But in reality, the Saruvi are actually very environmentally unfriendly. Like, hilariously so at times. They are not energy efficient at all. So, and they're also very evil. Like, more evil than the Empire, almost certainly, I'd say. At least their current regime is. The source book kind of implies that the previous regime was not good, but was less evil. Well, they were both evil, but this one is more aggressively evil, whereas the other one was more, let's just stay in our own bubble and be evil here. Like, he was content to own, like, just a couple planets, and tech the Puex, keep, killing the Puex and farming them like animals or whatever. And, but he also had, like, but he was like, but we should probably focus on, conservation and improve our own environment and save the world or whatever from destruction. And, then the new regime took over, basically erased all existence of him except that we know he exists. We just don't know his name or anything because, like, they tried to write him out of history as much as possible. They tried to rewrite their religion a little bit, and they basically said, now instead of actually there is now, instead of like trying to save our planet, we're just gonna go out and conquer every other planet and use them for energy instead. It's like, oh, okay. They remind me of the Schlock mercenaries, cute but genocidal koala people, whatever their name was with that. So, they were evil, but then they got worse. And I'd argue that they're honestly more evil than the Empire. let's put on something. Let's try this. They're so evil it surprises me they aren't something weird like droids or the Ewok comics. Well, you know, like, the villains in those stories were, like, evil, but they weren't really that evil. That's the funny part. They were just kind of goofy. I've actually noticed something. The more campy something in Star Wars is, kind of the more it gets referenced or brought up again. To some extent. Honestly, a lot of the EU things are really evil. You have to make a dolphin-shaped map with Delfino Plaza. That'd be kind of hard. Well, maybe. This is annoying. I'm doing this like the hardest way possible. I've noticed that a lot of the, like, campier things from the EU tend to get referenced more. Like, okay, so, you know how there's the Han Solo... I've probably ranted about this before, but you know how there's the Han Solo adventures and the Lando Calrissian adventures? And I'd say they're both a bit cheesy at times. The Han Solo one's more so, for sure, though. It's more fun to reference weird things, to be honest. Kind of, but I think it's also, like, just how fun is it plays a bigger role. And if you're willing to go campy, it's probably fun. And one thing I've noticed is that a lot of people dismiss, like, the pre-90s as not being EU, quote-unquote, because it wasn't as focused or whatever. But at the same time, there was the Han Solo Adventures. And people are quick to dismiss them, but a lot of stuff from those just kind of never went away. It basically always stuck around. Like the Hooks are in Tor, and those are from the Han Solo Adventures. There's the Victory Class Star Destroyers from Han Solo Adventures, and I mean that's in basically every video game. The Corporate Sector Authority, Bonadan gets referenced in KOTOR. It's like none of it is like super front and center most of the time, but all of it is stuff people have heard of, and a lot of it comes from, like, books like Han Solo's Revenge. And I think the reason it gets referenced, but the Lando Calrissian books do not, is because the Han Solo books are just fun. Like, they're corny and silly, but they are genuinely fun. Whereas the Lando books are not fun. They really aren't. Like, they're very much... They very much read like a bitter libertarian's rant at times. There's just moments where, I mean, Booty Eve came from droids and it made a huge movies keep coming back forward. That's actually funny. I didn't know that. Solentians do get some references, to be fair. And I think that's because Vufi Ra is the only likable thing in those books. To an extent. There's a couple minor characters that are fun, actually. But for the most part, the books are miserable. Which are from the Lando books. Vufi Ra is a nice character, though. Vufi Ra is easily the most enjoyable thing about those books. Because Lando himself is definitely not. If you want to sum up a random scene, there's 3 people in a ship together. They all hate each other. They all have different agendas. One of them's Lando. And then there's also Vufi Ra, who's the 4th one there. One of them dies, and the other 2 are like, well, good riddance. And one of those 2 that's like, good riddance is Lando. Like, that's kind of a good summary of what the book's tone is like. And it's just not enjoyable. It's kind of like a world where everybody hates each other. Life has no value. And I actually wonder if maybe he meant to write Vufi Ra as, like, comedic relief for being too hopeful and simple, because like he's very friendly and hopeful, and I actually wonder if like he was meant to seem too simple, like, oh, he's too naive, but it ends up making Vufi Ra the most likable character in the books. And the whole every game has a Life Day celebration thing from pre-Disney era. So, to some extent, I don't think he even meant for Vufi Ra to be as likable as he is. At least I suspect that, because there's a couple other characters that are similarly likable, but like the guy that's the Sharu guy who starts off stupid, but once he becomes enlightened, he's very different and he's not as likable. So I have to wonder if like his likable characters are just the quote simple stupid ones who aren't bitter and hate everyone. I don't know. It's very libertarian and bleak. Bleak is the word I would use to describe it. Whereas the Han Solo books are like, Han doesn't want to help these people out, but he does it begrudgingly anyway. He grumbles about it. Chewbacca talks him into it. He helps free some slaves, and he does something nice for them. And then he gets revenge on this corporate entity. But then he loses all his money in between the books, before the next book starts, and it starts over. And it's like very episodic and silly, but it's also very enjoyable because Han is begrudgingly helping make the universe a better place. And Chewbacca is kind of nudging him along. And it's in character. It's silly, but it's in character. It's like everything is like Han claims he just doesn't want to be cheated, but he also ends up freeing some slaves because he hates slavers. And it's like that's basically every book, every Han Solo adventure book. And that's fun, you know? It's not a mastercraft or anything, but it's fun. You enjoy it. And it's very episodic because by the end, Han ends up, before the next book starts, he loses all his money off screen somehow. And he has to start over. And it's just such a stark contrast, and I think that's why you see Han Solo adventures stuff everywhere. But, like, nobody's ever written about the centrality except James Luceno. And even there, like, that was because it was in the book Millennium Falcon. It kind of is, but, like, it's kind of like his character arc, except if Han doesn't really learn. It's sort of the implication that Han has always been good deep down. He just needs Chewie to nudge him along. I wouldn't say he changes so much as, I wouldn't say he has a character arc so much as, like, his good guy deep down stuff just keeps getting brought to the surface by Chewbacca and other characters who are more naive than him. It really is more like an emphasis on the idea that Han may have a van, he uses to transport drugs, but deep down he's a good guy. That's kind of it. It's like Han's on the wrong side of the law, and he does lots of crazy stuff, but at the end of the day, he won't do the truly evil things. Like, he has limits and a conscience. And he also has Chewbacca there with him. And Chewbacca was never really morally questionable. Alright, there we go. That ought to do. See that one book that tried to make Chewbacca centrist? What? What was this? I mean, it's rare for people to give Chewbacca an opinion on anything to begin with. Much less like a translatable voice. I think only one book did that I'm aware of. Oh, it's Koopa Troopa Beach, isn't it? Or this is Koopa. What just happened? I don't know if my mouse is screwy or the editor is just weird or what. The book basically said Chewbacca's lived for centuries and he doesn't believe in a lot of stuff he's seen because he has seen patterns repeat. I feel like I'd need to see the context behind that, though. I mean, it was so rare for people to give Chewbacca a voice in the first place. I don't know. What was it? Black Fleet Crisis was one of the only books where Chewbacca actually got translated, I think. Maybe the only book ever. I don't know. It was very rare. Posted in Corey's Discord. Having spent more than 2 centuries witnessing the rise and fall of the galaxy, I mean, it's decidedly apolitical. His focus is always family. Okay, that part I can agree with. Related by blood bonds, families. Human lifespans are much shorter than those of Wookiees, and Chewbacca's 3 months of his life. He carries his spirit with a heart by knowledge that this country is rich. Now comes his. That's a little weird. That is definitely a departure from like EU Chewbacca, who was like more leaning, definitely way more into he definitely leaned way more into supporting the New Republic before Han did. Decidedly apolitical Chewbacca. That's a weird take. I don't know about that. Maybe it's like a way of explaining why he's quick to move on to Rey instead of after Han's death. I don't know. It's by like trying to explain him as being like, for lack of a better term, elf-like. It's fine because it's how worded as well. Now that the more I think about it, the more it sounds elf-like, if that makes sense. Like, I have seen 1,000 of your lifetimes. I am not as attached to your lives as... I don't know. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from it. Let's go, get a long one here. That's weird. What did I do? Why did I do that? I clicked the wrong one. Fuck. Cheap Cheap Beach from Mario Kart. Such a good track. Can I click? I cannot click this. Fuck. Oh, got it. Mario Beach music is always kind of fun. That'll do nicely, I think. Oh, interesting. There. I don't like that for Chewbacca. It's... I mean, unless they're going with the idea that Wookiees weren't actually being enslaved by the Empire. This is kind of why I don't like the lore reset in general, because, like, there's so many, like, givens for characters and, like, histories that, like, when you erase it all, it just leaves things kind of jarring and weird. Decidedly ape. Oh. Because it's like, Chewbacca can't be apolitical in the EU because Wookiees are being enslaved all the time, you know? He has to hate the Empire. You know? But if you get rid of that history, then you get apolitical Chewbacca. Well, you know, the Empire's got some problems, but, you know, that's none of my business. How about that, Chewbacca? Okay, see... Okay, that's even worse. I don't think he can be apolitical. Can sleep there, too. Yeah, that's even worse. I wonder if it's a problem for canon to, like, decide what they're actually keeping or not, because I imagine there's a bunch of authors, like, automatically drawing upon EU references, and others that are, like, decidedly leaning away from it. I have to imagine that's a bit chaotic. I need to fill that in. I can just go back a bit. Whoop. This is Kirby's Return to Dreamland, I believe. Is it Nutty Noon? Maybe? It's too early for dinner time, doggy. Sorry. She's giving me a look. I fed them rather early today, so they're more anxious for early dinner than usual. They don't understand what 5 o'clock means. I like this. Yes, this will work. Yeah, it's especially funny when you consider it's not just been Fallen Order that has made Wookiees Empire slaves, but that book was released after Rebels, which made Wookiees... Oh. That's weird. That's... Oh, you know, I mean... Slavery's not great, but, you know, it does provide job opportunities. And it does keep people employed. So, you know, it's a little... Neither side is really right, you know. Although, to be fair, I imagine every source is going to ignore that source. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those situations where someone writes something and everyone's just like, this is terrible, I'm ignoring it. I think that's one of the strengths of having your entire canon more in books than movies. Because, like, if there's a bad movie, well, you get Rise of Skywalker. But if there's a bad book, everyone just ignores it. If there's a good book, everyone says, you have to read this book. And then it becomes, like, referenced enough to become, like, commonly accepted, you know? That's my mild take. I think it's mild. Oh, you know, the Emperor's not that bad. I mean, surely blew a plant that decreased. Okay, Reddit. Yes. You can see a tiny sliver of it. This is my average modding moment. Ooh, yes, Yoshi's Island. Here we go. Let's go ahead and save. Oh, I got this one already. I was very more efficient with this one than that one. Oh, this one's bigger, to be fair. Quite a bit bigger, actually. Or, I guess it was this one. Oh, this one's way bigger. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, yeah, that's understandable. It is much, much bigger. I think one of my dream planet ideas that will probably never happen, and I'll have to, because like I want to get into like game design in general and level design for probably other games to mod as well, or like as a real job. I don't know. But one of my dream levels is to make something that takes place on the back of either giant walkers moving across something or giant dinosaurs with like a city on their back. That's probably more feasible for like a shooter scale than RTS scale though. When I played Ark, I always used to like get the biggest or one of the biggest whatever was biggest but also convenient dinosaurs you could build stuff on the back of, and then just build houses on the back of those things. I I didn't like this song as a kid, but like as I got older, it grew on me more and more. So that's the idea of a map on the back of a walker camera. Actually, that's just canon. Well, there's Niklon. So, it already kind of exists. Though it's a dreadnought with, like 40 AT-80s under it. Though they don't actually exist there because, like, I didn't know how to, like, code that in. I still don't know how to code it in, but I bet I could. If I were to do Niklon again, I would do it better. And I could, but... I know this is Mario Kart, but I don't remember which one it is. Oh, it's 64 Koopa Troopa Beach. Yeah. Yeah. Man, I think one thing that I've always like loved about video games is the idea of a greater world. And one thing I always loved about the Mario games is like, especially like Mario Party games, is that anytime like you're doing one of those mini games, you can see like people just living their everyday lives in the background. And I always loved that aspect of the mini games. Or Mario Kart levels, like what is it? The one the airport one's really cool. But there's a bunch of Mario Kart ones that are pretty cool. Oh, autosave. Alright. I'm gonna pause this and put on a Bomberman beach theme. There we go. That works. Oh. Oh dear. I'll have to fix that. I actually like the ones that have cars. I like the cars, but I like it when there are people even more. Because it looks like there's people living their lives. I think that's why I like the Paper Mario games so much. Is because, like, well, the first two. Because, like, it really felt like you were exploring this greater kingdom. They sort of downplayed that in the sequels. To varying degrees, I'm told. Although I never got into the third one. Specifically because I remember being so put off that all of the partners were just those sparkle things. And I was just like, I don't want to play this. Like, it's weird to think, but in hindsight, that is the actual reason I never played it. Was just because I don't want to have partners that are not Mario characters or new or varied. I don't want just a bunch of sparkles. It wasn't even that they were sparkles. It's like, if one of them's a sparkle, that's fine. But they were all the same thing, and I was just like, no thank you. Yeah, same with Paper Mario, the Mario RPG series, because there's just houses with people in them, and you can even experience separate storylines from the overarching one. Yeah, that's always fun. Yeah, that's a good reason to cover that up. Did you guys ever play Bomberman Tournament? It's admittedly not the best game, but I did enjoy that it was like Bomberman attempting to be an RPG, even if it kind of failed to an extent. It also didn't have very big soundtrack, but like there was only 4 zones and each zone had one theme. But I thought the themes were pretty decent for what they were. This was the beach one. Well, beach and ocean. Which is kind of weird, but like the beach and ocean theme were used for both. Which is probably not a good choice, but you know, I like the theme at least. I think the game also suffered as an RPG because like it was not translated very well. So it would, like, even by 2003 standards, it was kind of hard to understand. Or 2000, whatever it was. I just remember like having no idea what people were talking about half the time. Like you go into an NPC's house and they'd be like, NPC you've never heard of. It's got all the right stuff, but you got to get to them first. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? It also had like a very crappy Pokemon game in it. I've always wanted to get into Bomberman, but I've never known where to start. I could not tell you. Bomberman Tournament has like a Pokemon thing in it that's not very good. And it's got an RPG thing to it that's kind of fun. But the gameplay, I would not recommend the 3D ones. From what I've seen of the 3D Bomberman games, they do not look very fun to me. I'm sure they have people who enjoy them, but like looking at them, I was like, this isn't fun. The 2D ones are all kind of the same in terms of core gameplay. But it's not bad. But I also like the math aspect to them. Morning, Thomas. Thomas, what's the best Bomberman game for a person to start with? Yeah, I can tell you probably don't start with a 3D Bomberman game. That would be my hot take. I don't know what ones are best, but from what I saw of the 3D gameplay, it did not look fun. And it does not have like the traditional... well, Bomberman's famous for the bombs going 2 different directions, and you having to calculate the distance, time, and all that very quickly. And I think that's what makes them fun. The 3D ones are just kind of like Zelda bombs, but smaller. But top down, and it's just like, this is a worse version of the first game. No, you suck. I mean, you could try an emulation of Bomberman Tournament. It's not... The side stuff that it tries to get you into for the RPG aspects aren't good. But, like... As far as, like, core Bomberman gameplay goes, it's fine. And you get to do it in Overworld, too. Which is something I would like to see more of. Because, like, the 3D ones had Overworlds, but they weren't good. But, like... I actually think Bomberman translates pretty decently to overworld combat. Ugh, let me get rid of these. They're in the way. And save. Wait. Save. I've never played one I like. Which ones have you played? If they were 3D ones, I can understand not liking them because I was curious about the Nintendo 64 ones and watched them and I was like, God, this looks awful. couple 2D. Is it the one where you jump? Or the one where you run around in a maze? Okay. I know there's one kind of weird Game Boy one where I think it's called Pocket Bomberman, where the bombs obey the same rules, but rather than moving left, right, north, south, or whatever, you jump like Mario. It's an interesting twist. I don't know if it's fun or not, but it's interesting. They only did it once, but then again, it seems like Bomberman only does every idea at once, except the bad ones. It's been 15 years since I thought about Bomberman. But I will say, Marmar, a lot of them look like they have the same relatively core gameplay. So it'll come down to like if you want an adventure one or like a multiplayer one. Super Bomberman series. I'm curious which one that is. Gameplay. Let me see if I can look it up quick. Oh, yeah, that's got like the core gameplay, so you wouldn't be missing anything from that. Yeah, I mean that can't be a bad choice if nothing else. Hello, Magic Dragon. This is another theme from it. There's like I said, there's only like a handful of themes to the game, but like I like most of them. The core gameplay between Bomberman games seems relatively similar, so and the Super Bomberman series looks like it maintains that core gameplay, so it can't be wrong, if nothing else. Ugh. Doggies, no. These roots are rocks. They are roots, but they're sometimes called rocks in the prop name. I mean, it's meant to pass as, like, moss-covered rocks, potentially, as well. To some extent, it's just about, like... There we go. Filling the gaps. In this context, are they roots? Probably. I mean, it's also meant to just look like jungle floor, so moss-covered vegetation and whatnot. Lush vegetation! This was not my intention. That's a Final Fantasy XIV joke for all of you who don't get it. Which is all of you. Is that looking good? Hell yeah, I'll go with it. I just need to fill in this gap now. Me? Gonganga? Say what? All things considered, I think I'm going to choose to believe that they will ignore that. By they, I mean like most other books and sources are going to ignore centrist, apolitical, doesn't care about the Empire Chewbacca. Because I think it just makes way more sense to have Chewbacca be more political than Han. Gotcha. I knew there was something down here. Marmar found this new Diz Canon book where it says Chewbacca's apolitical and only cares about family. And it's just like, excuse me? He doesn't... What? Has acknowledged decidedly. I don't think any book has acknowledged decidedly apolitical Chewbacca. No. See, that's the kind of thing that, like, works about books, I think, is that when someone writes something terrible like that, it gets ignored. And people are like, I'm not including that. That's kind of why I think, like, book canon makes more sense to some extent than, like, by canon, I mean, like, just book lore makes more sense than, like, movie lore. Or having a bunch of, like, MCU-like movies, because, like, if something goes... Well, then you get, like, the Holdo maneuver versus apolitical Chewbacca. Like, one of those is definitely going to be ignored. And the other is just, like, everyone complains about it. Nobody's going to complain about apolitical Chewbacca because everyone's going to be a season and be like, what the fuck? And then decide, you know what? I think everyone else is going to have the same reaction I am and ignore this. Julie's only good, guys, because we can't hear all the slurs he says. What does apolitical even mean in this context? I think it has to mean the Empire, right? The Empire versus New Republic. Where did the whole idea of Chewie and slavery come from? Because, like, there's references to Han's having very serious issues with slavers as early as the Han Solo Adventures, which are 1978. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that does not work. Like when gamers mean apolitical. Oh my gosh, no. Chewbacca had a gamer moment. Chewbacca pulled a Jontron. About probably has to do apolitical probably has to do with the Empire because the book talks about dark and light and their rise. Chewbacca has a Jontron rant where he says, listen, I'm not saying blowing up Alderaan was right, but if you look at police statistics, Alderaanians commit more crime than Corellians. Well, that's more of a... And then the other host will be like, well... And then Mon Mothma will be like, well, Chewbacca, that's more of like a wealth issue, isn't it? He's like, no, wealthy Alderaanians commit more crime than poor Corellians. And Mon Mothma will just stand there speechless for a moment. And then we'll all be really uncomfortable with it for a while. With the fact that Chewbacca just outed himself like that. And then Chewbacca will list himself as apolitical. And occasionally rant about people having issues with Trump. But he'll keep it vague after that. But, like, we'll know. We'll know. It'll be too late. We'll know. I'm glad you're enjoying. I'm just saying some races are more likely to be into Grogu than some. That's it. Oh, will he be on Joe Rogan? Who is Joe Rogan in Star Wars? It has to be someone who is like they kind of lead politically right, but they also like just mostly seem clueless and don't really understand nuances. Not what I expect when I turn into stream. So who would that be for? Wait, is Chewbacca Joe Rogan? Have we been mistaken? Dexter Jetster. Dexter Jetster. Look, I'm just saying, those Outer Rim people had the Von coming. Dexter Jetster's too smart. Apparently, he like leads an underwater like, or underground like campaign against the Empire, or something. So, I'd say he's like he's a liberal. Or would he be libertarian? But like the Ron Swanson kind of libertarian. I could kind of see that. Well, you know, Kenobi, the government's no good. They're taxing and stealing all our people. And this war, it's going to come to a head. I'm telling you, we can't trust the Empire. And it's like, you're wrong on principle, but you're right in practice. Man, those Uvitas had the right idea. Dexter leads an underground Jedi ring where he helps them escape Coruscant. Probably more than that. Liberals rarely lead underground resistance moves, to be honest. But then again, they lead rebellion. I feel like, okay, I'm definitely dropping a hot take here, but I feel like libertarians could generally be good people, but it requires them to be very honorable in the first place and not hateful. Ugh. The Chiss should be willing to give up most of their territory to the Dark Nest for the sake of peace. Honestly, I don't think what the Bothans did was that bad. I'm telling you, it was wrong of Jar Jar to give power to Palpatine. What if he gives more concessions to the Separatists? I think I've only heard half of what you said, so I'm not sure what the Libertarian you want. That's fair. I mean, I'm not a political genius, that's for sure. But I feel like, on principle, in theory, libertarian ideas could have merit. It's just that in practice they don't. I don't know. But also, there's a lot of really nasty libertarians out there. So, that doesn't help. Chewy, the best joke. Socialist one or the U.S. Libertarian Party? I may not be a political genius, but I am decidedly apolitical. Oh, I was about to say something kind of mean. Chewbacca's one of those people that's like very right-leaning, but they don't tell their friends. Because like they secretly don't, because they secretly like share the beliefs of a lot of shitty people, but they don't want to espouse them out loud. Or worse, it's more that they just don't want to be canceled. Libertarian ideology is predicated on the total unwavering trust in others not to let greed overrun every possible point of human history. That's kind of it. Yeah, it kind of relies on there not being... yeah. Then again, I suppose every form of government does to an extent, so I can't even point fingers there. I don't know. There are two libertarian ideas that have nothing to do with each other despite sharing the name. Oh, that's interesting. That actually probably does make sense, too. I probably shouldn't talk about politics because I am not equipped to, you know? I don't know. But here we are. Fuck! No! Chewie was upset they didn't use the Death Star on Trandoshan, but unironically... It's actually funny, if I can make a confession, that I used to be fairly conservative, but like, I had a friend who was very liberal that told me, "You're liberal, you just don't realize it yet," and I didn't know what he meant at the time. But as it turns out, like, I am relatively bleeding heart on a lot of issues. I feel like that's a lot of people secretly, is that they're more bleeding heart than they realize. But they grew up thinking that they're supposed to be conservative, and then they spent a lot of time, well, at least I spent a lot of time, like, getting into confused arguments with conservatives, like, well, why do we want that? I don't understand. Who does that benefit? Before I realized, oh, I'm not conservative. Oops. Originally referred to the type of social green accent, but a lot of people use the term now are very capitalist and mostly want corporates to do whatever. Yeah. Mostly just agree on gun rights. Now I'm starting to think of an Alex Jones type character, which is a Bothan. That's not fair to the Bothans because as far as we know, none of the Bothans were terrorists. Honestly, kind of a mood. If you replace conservative with liberal, that's me. I'm an anarcho-monarchist. I think one of the earliest, very, I don't want to say heated because I didn't have very strong opinions on it, but I remember one of the biggest like points of confusion for me was when there was a lot of conservative Christians debating whether or not gay people should be able to adopt and marry and stuff. And I remember being like, well, I guess we could like say no marriage, but why would we want to stop them from adopting? Because we want kids to be adopted, right? And they were just like, no. And I was like, but isn't it better for a child to be adopted by a gay couple than to not be adopted at all? Isn't that the better outcome and better for the child? And that was like the first hint I had that maybe I didn't share every belief with these people. I was like, but at the end of the day, don't we want what's the best bottom line for the child? Like, isn't that what we all want? What's best for the child? Isn't that the most important thing? I'm confused. Isn't the safety and well-being of the child the most important factor here? I'm confused. Why is this not? Remember January 6th when Boris Fiala invited all those imperial loyalists into the Senate building? Someone put Trump's hair on Fiala's stat. The big one was the Bothans declared genocidal war and the Yuzhan Vong and didn't stop. Okay, that's fair. Chudwi. Ow. I hate my skin. Not how it looks, I just have issues with it that like it hurts sometimes. Ooh, perfect. There we go. Fuck. How are there so many holes? Alright, I'm gonna just use a big one. That could sound really bad out of context. Is this where the streamer says don't clip me? You wanna watch Ahsoka kill? Probably not. I mean, I'm barely watching TV at all. By which I mean I'm not. As it is. I haven't even watched Invincible Season 2, and I was really hyped to watch that. Actually, I might not be able to watch Disney anything right now. Isn't that the closest thing in Legends that's Diversity Alliance? That was the Young Jedi Knights series, wasn't it? I remember reading those as a part of those as a kid, but like I have no idea where to find them now. Maybe I should check the Internet Archive. There we go. This is interesting. It's a lot of vines. But I mean, it's still, what, like 1/10 the number of these things? So, whatever. You might be right, Marmor. I'm not sure. I don't really remember the Diversity Alliance. Although it is kind of weird that Ula's sister was like their leader or something. How many props did you put down? Oh, yeah, you guys can't see. It is currently 5,482. However, I'm pretty sure less than 200 are vines. And more than 5,000 are these things. Oops. Alright, I'm going to save because I'm going to just go ahead and give my dogs dinner, and I'll be right back. I think I remember it from TabCaf. What it would be the opposite of what it sounds like it would be. Yeah, it was like kind of an anti-human league, if I remember correctly. Although this is also me having read it only once, like 15 years ago. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. First, the alliance is white is what white right wingers think it sounds like. I hate that it exists in lore. Honestly, I'm surprised it's a pre-Gamergate thing. It just got way more obvious. Um, it was the Young Jedi Knights thing, and if I remember correctly, the plot was like humans have been like the supreme race for too long in the galaxy, and some non-humans got upset about that. Like, I think that's the plot, basically. That didn't help my problem. And, whatever. Basically, they became terrorists or something, I think. Diversity Alliance sounds like something Dave Filoni would write. I mean, he did the whole episode of Mandalore against post-scarcity societies. Mandalorian against post-scarcity. I can't remember what that is. I feel like there's just large gaps of the Clone Wars show that I've just forgotten. Then again, I only really watched the show once. Well, I watched it the first season when it came out, and then I didn't like it. I thought it was boring and childish. And then I watched more of it as an adult, but I only watched it through once. Post-scarcity societies are like utopias, but I have no idea where Mando has that. Plus, basically, societies where robots do the whole heat work, and humans dedicate themselves to art. Can't work. It sounds like Alderaan, except without the robots. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. What's up, Penny? I just fed you. Okay, give me 1 second. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this is what I did for the landing zone over here. That's bad in Star Wars, but only because all robots appear to be Sophons, which I doubt is the plot of in Mando. Season 3, haven't watched it yet. I haven't watched Season 3 Mandalorian either. I actually don't know if I can. I think I lost access to my brother's Disney Plus account, and I haven't really bothered to try to re-find it. I haven't had strong motivation to watch anything on TV. Like, at this moment, I could be watching, what's it called? Invincible Season 2, and I still haven't done that. Even though, like, I enjoyed the first season quite a bit. Pirate. I'm a good bit late. How's it coming along? It's going well. We did more vines. We also did some TikToks and some YouTube shorts. In the plot, Severus basically installs a virus in the robots that causes them to rebel and malfunction. Oh, that actually reminds me of something funny. Let's see if I can find this. Oh. In the, what's it called? In the Truce of Bakura source book, it mentions the reason Bakurans hate droids is because, like, a rival company sabotaged all the droids they took with them on the colony, but instead of, like, just making them inefficient and causing them to wreck everything, they instead attacked and killed like 40% of the colonists. And after that, Bakurans were like, we will not allow any droids on this planet ever. It's some InfoWars as well, that's true. Actually, I don't know. Would you guys want to hear like a funny story? I thought it was funny. It was something I read in the Truce Bakura. Like right after Andor. It's like, oh, I also got rid of the edges here, which I think looks good. I need to decide what I want for these areas. Oh wait, did I get all the bridges? Is that why I feel... Oh, I did. Well, alright. Wow. That's weird to think. There's like no gaping holes in this map anymore. Nice. I just need to figure out what I'm doing. Uh-oh. Let's go ahead and put these over here. All right. Let's copy this, bring it over here, and I can try to figure out how I want it positioned. Precisely. Oh, I turned off the music. My bad. 1 second. Here we go. I think getting your politics from Star Wars is really childish. I get mine from Dune. Okay. Is that the one with genocide? Oh no, I'm not brave enough for politics. Ah, this is the thing. Autosave, autosave is killing me inside. My allegiance is to the Republic. Is to the Republic. Democracy. Ah, I can't speak for crap. Should say is good maybe. Dune after 5 books. Yes. Funny you should say 2.5 books. I think my brother said 3.5 books or something like that. So maybe he did say 2.5. You're not the first person I've heard say that almost exact phrasing. Should this be infantry? Maybe. Maybe. Getting your politics from Dune is kind of childish. I get mine from Starship Troopers, the book, not the movie. Thank you. I'm sophisticated. Save there. I love God Emperor, but that does not make it good. Oh, I don't know if you guys read source books, but I found a hilarious story that's like set right after the Battle of Endor. Oh, 1 second. Mon Mothma and Admiral Akbar have brought in Han Solo and Paige. Paige is like this commando guy, who's been in a few books or whatever, usually in the background. Well, that's the extended version. No, I'll just keep going. And she's brought in Han Solo and Paige in for questioning. On Han Solo basically returned to the fleet in command of a Star Destroyer, and they didn't give him any authorization to capture a Star Destroyer, and he risked manpower and people doing so, but he did it anyway, and he succeeded in coming back with a Star Destroyer. Mon Mothma. General Solo, could you please elaborate on your report concerning the boarding action against the Star Destroyer Accuser? It is a trifle vague. Well, there ain't much to tell. Admiral Akbar stifles a cough. Mon Mothma. You have something you wish to add, Admiral? No, I do not, except that given General Solo's reputation, his last statement is somewhat difficult to believe. Lieutenant Page, perhaps you could fill in some of the blanks in General Solo's report. According to the good general, you and the commandos temporarily under your command simply, and I quote, boarded the enemy vessel and captured the bridge. 1 second. Yes, ma'am. That is what happened. General Solo and I led the boarding action. General Solo participated in the action. Yes, it was the general's idea, actually. Naturally. Thanks, kid. General, I would like to know why you chose to lead an unauthorized action like this. You know I would not approve. That's why I didn't ask. Anyway, it seemed like a good idea. At least it did at the time. No doubt. Continue, Lieutenant. Page. Well, mop-up operations were still underway, but most of the action was going on overhead. As planet-level unit leader, Major Derlin remained on Endor to supervise incoming ground forces. He placed me in temporary command of the commando force. First Mate Chewbacca and General Solo were doing some of the work on the shuttle we used to penetrate Endor security when we got word that there was some trouble in orbit. The relief troops had managed to land, but General Solo seemed most eager to assist in the battle over the moon. Soy, Mon Mothma, Chad, Solo. This gets better, trust me. The twist is so great. On the moon. Well, not exactly eager. You see, it was all Chewbacca's idea. Let's see if I can... Yes! Perfect. And I'll just do this while I'm working. Akbar. It was First Mate Chewbacca to attempt a boarding action against an Imperial Star Destroyer that was carrying a full troop complement. An attack, I might add, that was to be carried out by one commando squad. Well, no. He just said we should use the Tydirium to get back to the fleet. And it occurred to me that he didn't say which fleet. And we had all those spare stormtrooper uniforms and security codes that got us in, not to mention that bucket of a shuttle. So you took it upon yourself to steal a Star Destroyer. Well, yes. I guess you could call a general's prerogative if you want. Yes, we could, except that usually a general clears such an unorthodox maneuver with Admiral Akbar, General Madine, or myself. You didn't say which fleet. Yes, Paige. Yes, ma'am, but when the Death Star blew up, it disrupted communications. We tried to alert you, but we couldn't get through. Mon Mothma sounding skeptical. No doubt General Solo was literally grafted to the shuttle's comm unit. Admiral Akbar. Lieutenant Page, how did you manage to fight your way to the bridge? This is not meant to denigrate your abilities or if you or your men. I realize that you and your men are exceptionally capable soldiers, and the ground combat is not my area of expertise, but those kind of odds sound overwhelming. Well, actually, sir, we didn't fire a shot. Preposterous! Surely you are exaggerating, Lieutenant. No, sir. After all, we did have the proper Imperial clearance, and the code allowed us to get through the shield perimeter at Endor, and General Solo was quite convincing when he called the accuser's captain claiming we had just escaped from the Star Destroyer. They certainly fell for it. They actually used their own docking tractor beams to bring us in. They brought you in? Paige smiles shyly. Yes, ma'am. You could say they invited us aboard. And how did you eliminate the crew? General Solo managed it. Of course he did. Once we took the bridge, and I swear all of us were. I swear all we did was just walk in. He relieved the accuser's captain. Let me see if I've understood you correctly, Lieutenant. General Solo, posing as a stormtrooper, boarded the Imperial Star Destroyer, marched you and your group to the bridge, and assumed command. No, sir. General Solo was wearing an Imperial General's uniform, not a stormtrooper armor. A general, naturally. Hey, it fit, that's all. And how did you and your crew manage to eliminate the accuser's crew? General Solo convinced them to leave. Convinced them to leave? Well, he rendered the Star Destroyer's captain unconscious, while my people secured the rest of the bridge crew. Then the general activated the ship-wide hull breach alarm and ordered the crew to abandon ship. Amazing. Oh, knock it off. It worked. I love this story so much. Like, I just read it on a whim because I was, like, looking at it for, like, the Saruvi stuff. So finding this in here was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I love it. It's pretty great. When your bluff score is high enough. It's pretty amazing. It's just like he just walked on, knocked out the captain, then we took out the guards on the bridge and told everyone else to evacuate. It worked. I find it especially funny after political Chewbacca. Chewbacca told him to go back to the fleet because he didn't want to get involved in Imperial politics. That's it. With 4 nat rolls, 4 natural 20s on deception get you. Rebel operations in a nutshell. I love that that Paige just went along with it, though. That's the funniest part to me, is that, like, because he's, like, such a straight-laced guy. But he's like, sure. Ride or die. I'm going to head to bed now. All right, you have a nice night. I'm probably only going to go another half hour because I think I said this at the beginning of the stream, but you guys probably missed it. I have a thing at 6, so I'm probably going to need, like, a half hour to, like, get ready for whatever it ends up being. We are so lucky they are stupid. Night. Night, Blasto. Autosave! Oh. By God, there was no chance for it to work, but we are fully sent it, and what do you know? I feel like that's a very D&D inspired story. And, like, operate on the idea that Han just has insanely high deception. Anyway, I read that last night and I thought it was just the funniest thing. Alright. Let's go ahead and change this back. And boom. Slightly scuffed stones. Save. Not auto-save, real save. Where Han is just stupidly lucky. I mean, we gave him the trait Risk Taker for a reason. Alright, that's 1, 2. I'm missing one here, but I don't know where I want to put it yet. Or I guess I chose here. Never mind. Okay. There's no such thing as luck. Never tell him the odds. Some old dude, probably. 1 second. Oh, excuse me. Had a nasty cough there. Let's try 48. Okay, and 60. Is that lined up? Kind of. There, let's do that instead. Yeah, I think this will work. Are these two different things? No, they're the same thing. Are they? Yeah, they are. Wait. Yeah, they are. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll go this way instead. Alright, this should be the middle. Saving. I'm now imagining Paige and Han in one of those ERA movies with an angry Akbar and Mothma. Babe, wake up! New Gobindi just dropped. No, you missed it. I was reciting Han's capture of the accuser from the Truce Bakura source book. Oh, I love this theme. Not sure I'd call it beach, but sure. Boom, boom, da-da. I guess it's close enough to beach. The one where he got Ben soloed. Wasn't the accuser Piet's Star Destroyer from EAW? You know, I want to say you're right. I feel like it's something else as well. I feel like there's multiple accusers. Will this crash me? I hope not. Okay, cool. Well, the Imperial justice system could have multiple accusers allowed. Yeah, I mean, it probably is like one of the go-to names. There's an ISD named Malevolence or the Subjugator. Probably. I think I used to listen to this song like just over and over again when I was a kid. At least Wook says there is. Okay, there you go. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, I have no doubt there would be. Subjugator, certainly. Malevolence might be a bit more of a stretch, but I could see it. See how the other ones are patterned quick. Kind of similar. There was a Nebula and an Imperial service called the Malevolence. Alright. Sure, why not? Ride or die. I mean, why not? You went to crew and that shit must have thought about being named that. Blood Gutter Best Carrick. So there, I'm fine with that never being addressed, but apparently in the X-Wing books, there was a moment where someone like confronted one of the good Imperials about the fact that all of the Imperial ships have evil names. He's like, do you know why that is? And the Imperial's like, look, I've heard every philosopher give me their take. Why? He's like, well, Luke Skywalker has a feeling. He's like, sure, let's have the farm boy give his opinion. I've heard all the philosophers. And he's like, Luke believes it was the Emperor testing you. The Emperor wanted to acclimate people to having evil names so that they would start to embrace evil themselves. And he's like, that's ridiculous. He's like, but, I mean, I don't know. It's an in-universe theory, so it's not canon or anything. You're being assigned to the accuser. That's sus. Luke says it's gaslighting. That's actually a good way to put it. It's Palpatine gaslighting the Imperials. That's a nice theory. Why don't you back it up with a source? A game theory. Autosave to actual save. Wonderful. Alright, well. This map is weirdly close to... Well, I gotta decorate. But it is coming along much more than I thought. The Imperials are the gamer faction. Finally, some representation. They went after us. Gamers. Gamers! Do you have any idea how much we grind? And you'd want to come after us? Game theory. What is Vader? What if Vader was actually Palpatine's son? I mean, Plagueis kind of created him, theoretically. First Apolitical Chewbacca and now Gamer Imperials. Damn, they really are pandering. Shake my head. They targeted gamers. game is such a nice music. This game has such nice music. Ah. See, I never really know how to decorate these small spaces. You just always end up looking off. I might have to like mess around with this off stream maybe. Imagine how terrible space Twitter was when ST2 got blown up. You don't need a targeting computer for something that large. From what I remember, it actually took a long time for the news of the Death Star and the Emperor's death to spread. Actually, the Death Star's explosion was less of a big deal than the Emperor's death. Who's pinging me? Oh, never mind. It's not important. I can't wait to play. Can't wait until Starfield comes out. Until point 4 comes. Oh, okay. They clearly show everyone's salary in the day. Clearly, the news must have been instantaneous. Oh, that's right. They did change that. But I mean, I always interpreted that as like when the news spread, not instantaneous. Although the Coruscant one doesn't make a lot of sense. Be like my cousin in Poland not hearing about the war until a week later. Sometimes people are isolated. Yeah. The Emperor couldn't be replaced, but as for all the... Oh, my mouth. Sorry. The Dominion couldn't be replaced. The Emperor couldn't be replaced as far as all the Dunium it took to build the Death Star. Well, Thrawn was lousy with it. Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Dunium's that, like, metal they made the Death Star with. I completely forgot about that. That's from the Death Star novel or something, right? I don't know what I'm doing for these buildings. Yeah. Sometimes people are isolated. I actually kind of like to think that, I'm reading the new Thrawn. Oh. I like to think that the, what's it called? Ugh. Celebration on Coruscant was probably after the planet was freed from the Empire. Probably. I mean, that could work too, that it was immediately attacked by riot cops. I mean, that would fit too, but I was trying to have like a nicer thought. I was like looking for like a happier ending than that. But that does make sense, like if it's happening right then and there. Oh, excuse me. I like the new Thrawn stuff. I haven't read it yet. It's one of those books I probably won't read, but I'll get on audiobook. Happiness in this economy? Oh, right. I need to set up landing zones. Quack, quack. Quack, quack. I can do this before we finish. At least. Aye. Alright. Now I'm gonna cool. Just, well, first add this to custom colors. Make it red. Then, oh no, missed. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna need multiple colors here. There we go. How could the cops do anything when the stormtrooper is being lifted like lifted and thrown off the edge? That was just a crowd surfer gone awry. Very tragic. Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Stormy the Baked? Bruh. Let's go with that. I'm going to show my son the non-special editions of OG Trilogy soon, since we just talked about it during Ahsoka. Careful now, if you set that bar any lower, you're going to make Jar Jar look good by comparison. It's less stupid than scenes in Episode 9. It's not a story the Rebels will tell you. Alright. I'm probably going to stop here. Oh wait, let me clean this up. This sounds very Kirby-like. Let's go look it up quick. Is it Kirby? Oh, it's Bomberman 64. Huh. How about that? Wait a second, Keel. I had an idea. What's that? It would probably help if I fix these textures first. Hide some Space Invaders in the textures. Oh. Like the shape of the pixel shape of a Space Invader. I guess I could do that maybe in one of them. I'm sure I'll end up needing more. I need to change these. Let's see how this is. Should probably have it continue out to here, and you know, I could just go all the way like this for the corner. Make one political Chewie shaped. Should I just call it, since I haven't like come up with a name for this one, should I call it Apolitical Chewbacca? We really need to have it apolitical. Yes. Actually, I don't really know what I did this time that was like is screenshot worthy, because last time it was the waterfall, definitely. I guess I could take a picture of the vine of the I could set this up. Nope, that's poking through. There. I could take a picture of Apolitical Chewbacca on Vine. We have the please look forward to a comic strip be Chewbacca talking about how apolitical he is. Have something like Leia going, "The Empire is evil," and Chewbacca going, "Sorry, Leia, I'm apolitical." Sometimes there's two sides, you know. That's such a dumb thing to write. I mean, I feel like if I was younger, it would have upset me a lot, but now I'm like old enough to know that that's like one author being an idiot and everyone else is going to ignore it. Is there a fog texture, not a placeable one? Not really. There's steam, but those particles could possibly get laggy, and I don't want to place a bunch of steam on this kind of map because of how much visual clutter there are, how many props there already are. It could get messy trying to like fix them or anything, so that's too risky for me. The other thing is I've talked to Leah about seeing if we can get a bigger particle made, and because we want to use it for Teth. Well, let me show you something quick. You know that planet Teth or whatever? It's the one with all the fog or whatever. There's a couple planets that like are basically pillars with foggy clouds all around them, including Oreen in the Unknown Regions and Teth in the Clone Wars TV show. We want to get like massive versions of these props, of these particles, and then do something like this. But while we can do it now with like what we have available, this is quite a few props for a very small area. I do not want to do this on a mass scale for a lot. Not just because it's a waste of, it's a lot of props and a lot of work, but it's also a lot of work. And if I mess it up, it's going to be almost impossible to fix. Whereas if it's one big one or multiple big ones, it's not nearly as bad. And the Battleground Founder had the VP fail prop after I captured. Victory points are sketchy. But I will say I made the victory points for point 3 be worth 10 pop. That way, if you do capture a victory point and it breaks, you at least never have to capture another landing zone. Or hold any others. I mean, it could be the shield generator or whatever, but sometimes they just fail. That's been a thing since forever. Yeah. So, this is something I want to do more of, but because of how prop intensive it is, I would rather do it with a much larger singular particle than all these many small ones. This is actually like two different kinds of fog combined as well. One is like a type of lava steam, and the other is a type of like, I don't know, some other kind of steam. The ones that fail are apolitical. I didn't know that. Good to know. Honestly, that's perfect for what I have in mind. So, there are plans to eventually do like maps with stuff like this, but... And I'd like to even put it in Gobindi eventually, but I'm going to wait for the particle to actually exist. That said, I'm going to stop here for tonight. So, good night, everybody. I have to get ready for something at 6, which is a half hour for me. Steam, more like gaming. You know why it's called Steam? Because it comes from the valve. The valve of Steam. The Steam valve. I think I'm going to use a higher up fog that's nearly invisible, placeable. Steam makes a lush chasm. If only. Well, maybe. I don't know. Good night.